Hello and welcome to CTRMRadio, an ad hoc podcast from Commodity Technology Advisory, hosted on CTRMcenter.com, your place for everything CTRM. And before I get started today, let me ask if you would do us a favor, and that would be to subscribe, like, and share this podcast so that you can help it reach others in the industry and help us gain a broader audience with the YouTube version of the podcast in particular. Well, today I wanted to look at software as a service delivery of CTRM solutions. I've just been working on the vendor perception study, which, by the way, will be out shortly as a free downloadable report. And in that report, we look at how people are deploying their ETRM and CTRM solutions. And whilst around half of the industry is still in a traditional on-site installation mode, we can see that the software as a service, either single or multi-tenanted, is gaining significant ground and traction in the industry. But if you choose to go with a single-tenanted or multi-tenanted software as a service eCTRM, what are you actually getting for your money? How does it get installed? Does it need to be installed? How does it get set up? Does it need to be set up? Can you pay for it with a credit card up front and have on-demand CTRM? How is it supported? How is it managed from the point of view of rolling out enhancements? What about security? What about downtime? What about availability? All of these are considerations when you're looking at software as a service. In return, of course, you get the benefits of cloud-native software and everything that entails. So I thought what I'd do was go out and talk to 3 vendors who actually deliver software as a service, commodity management, CTRM, and ETRM software. So I'm going to be joined by representatives of 3 vendors that offer software as a service solutions on a multi-tenanted or single-tenanted basis in commodity management, in the form of Phlo Systems, in CTRM, in the form of GrainTrack, and in energy ETRM, in the form of Aurora Systems. So please join me as I talk to these 3 guests and we learn together more about software as a service deployment of your CTRM, ETRM, or commodity management solution. Let's get started with Dmtry from GrainSmart. First of all, Dmtry, thank you for joining CTRMRadio today. Perhaps we can just start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself and your software.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me here. So we are GrainTrack. So we've been developing our software since 2015. So since then, we grew a little bit in terms of the product and in terms of the customer. So our main vision is to give to commodity traders an affordable tool to manage all their processes, automate their business, and get proper insights from it.
And who is the solution targeting, would you say?
It's more small and medium-sized businesses. However, we have big guys with more than 100 users. It's not many of such companies, but still. And also we have producers with hundreds of hectares of cultivated area, and traders, brokers, and mostly who trade softs and grains.
Right. And how does it work from the user's point of view? Because it's software as a service. So is it like instant on after a credit card payment? Do you need to install it, implement it? Is there any need for training, that kind of thing?
Yeah, obviously, it's not that simple as you just go to the store and buy whatever you want and just you can use it. You need some time to get used to it, obviously, but we help with this often. And how it works from the user point of view. So first of all, it takes us like I would say up to 2 hours to establish the server and get ready with the environment, all the technical works, and then the companies might have their own account with all the credentials, permissions for every user, etc. And then we establish several training sessions in order to give users understanding of how not only work in the system, but how their business processes might be shown and might be managed in the system, because it's also important. We have situations where companies, they changed their own business processes because of the usage of the GrainTrack.
Right. Yeah. We've talked about what sort of businesses it's targeted at, and maybe you could just offer a bit more in terms of the sorts of entities that are currently using it, and perhaps how many customers you already have, because I think that's important for people looking at software vendors.
Yeah. Last time we've been talking with you, we had 54 customers. Now we have 56.
Very good. Well done.
Yes, yes. Thank you. We're not targeting quantity, rather we targeting quality, because there are plenty of customers that actually do not need any CTRM system. They are good with Excel, and we are fine with that. So I think a company should have established business processes and need to really switch to CTRM before outreach to some vendor, because it's really important.
Yeah. And I guess the $6 million question today is, for those people that are looking at CTRM, perhaps even for the first time, what are the pros and cons in your view of going with a software as a service, multi-tenanted or single-tenanted solution like yours?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's kind of a technical question, because the way how do you manage your database is being handled differently by different vendors. So I would say, if you have a multi-tenant database, you obviously have scalability as a pro, obviously, because you may establish as many new customer accesses as you want, right? But at the same time, you're a bit limited by the flexibility of such a database, because if one customer needs their own fields to manage, even in one single object like contract or execution or delivery or invoicing, etc. So if somebody needs some flexibility in this database, you might be a little bit limited. And also the second thing is security, because we have two options. For some customers with a really strict policy, like strict security policy, they are even not able to have multi-tenant database. They only need a separate server with all the infrastructure completely divided from something else.
Got it. And do you still find people that are looking for more traditional software on premise?
Yes, of course.
And can you do that
bigger?
well?
Yes, of course, because as it was a tough journey for us, because I recall first 4 or 5 years we didn't have that, so we lost a lot of leads, a lot of potential customers because of that. That's why we decided to eventually did it, and we're not regretting at all about that, because as bigger customer, he might want it desperately.
What about flexibility then? What about being able to offer a flexible solution when it's in the cloud?
Yeah, I always asking myself, why do such companies like traders who manage millions of tons and millions of dollars, euros, etc., they do everything in Excel?
Yeah.
Right? And I answered to myself, that's because Excel is flexible. It's not about it's cheap or it's free even, right? For some companies, no. It's because it is flexible, so each customer can turn it upside down. How do you want it? Add as many columns reduce sizes, whatever, do some highlighting, do some reporting, etc. Right? So, so I believe it's impossible to give to the market one generic solution,
right,
which will be capable of satisfying, fulfilling every customer need,
yeah,
right? To all customers, it's just impossible because even on the market that is almost it's one single market, right? And companies might be identical, but they still find a way how to manage their processes differently. So that's why our main idea is to be as much flexible as possible, in a way that we can give customers the platform. We call it low code or no code platform, right? Where they can build based on GrainTrack, like they have a preset of CTRM, but then they can customize it
right,
in a way they want it, and it gives our customers great variety of different options to do. For example, we have a business intelligence model, right? So instead of implementing and developing many different reports for each customer that we have, we just give a platform, right, a tool where they can do any dashboard, any chart, any table they want. They can turn the data upside down, look at it from different angles, and without any code involved. So that's our vision on that.
right, right, right. I guess it's probably worth sort of thinking about the spreadsheet in terms of some of the downsides. I mean, that, as you say, they're running millions of dollars of business on a
Yeah,
spreadsheet, but all it takes is for one person to accidentally overlay a formula, or the person who invented the spreadsheet to go on vacation, and then what
exactly.
happens? And
It all
if you use
collapses.
a comprehensive vendor-provided solution, not only are those issues negated, impossible, but also I'm assuming you offer an audit trail capability as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So one of our clients right now, they are under this audit trail. So we're helping a lot with that. So and it's impossible to pass it with the Excel because of these issues you just mentioned, right?
Yeah,
So in our system, we try to mix approaches. So yes, obviously, we need some flexibility even in terms of putting the data. So we have the functionality where you can just put the data as you put it in Excel. So as you see the table, you can edit it. You can add some entries in there without opening additional windows, etc. All these complicated processes that usually our customers usually had in legacy systems,
yeah,
right? In legacy CTRM. So that's the first thing we want to mix, to combine with the approach of elimination of any errors that you might have in Excel. Because, as you mentioned, in Excel, you can just accidentally do things. So in GrainTrack, it's just impossible because we keep track on every change that user do. That's it.
great stuff. Thanks a lot for joining us today, and yeah.
Thanks to everyone. Thanks to Gary for joining. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Dmtry. And now let's go to a commodity management vendor, Phlo Systems, and Saurabh Goyal. Okay, Saurabh, thank you for joining CTRM Radio today. And to get started, I just would like to ask, who is your solution targeting? What kind of companies?
So we are targeting the long chain of small and medium-sized commodity traders across the globe. For us, you can say the distinction criteria is anyone having a turnover of less than $1 billion. Having said that, the sweet spot for us is commodity traders who have just started trading above $100 million, because that's when they really need a system, and
Right.
they clearly see the value of having a system. So the sales is much easier for them. But having said that, currently in our portfolio, we have customers who do, say, less than 10 million turnover to customers going up to $400 million turnover.
Right, interesting. And in terms of your solution, is it the sort of thing where you go to a website, enter a credit card, and you're up and running, or is there some implementation, some setup required, training, that kind of thing? How does that work?
So yes, in theory, you can pay the subscription fee with the credit card. But then we had to interface with payment providers like Stripe, etc., and they keep a
Yeah.
fairly large percentage of that fee. So that doesn't work out for us. I mean, the typical fee for our platform would start from anywhere between £2,000 per month, going up to £6,000-7,000 per month.
Right.
For that kind of a monthly fee, the commission you have to pay to these credit card providers is not really feasible.
Yeah.
So as of now, no, it is not paid through credit card, but we issue them an invoice every month, and they pay us on that basis. Also, as you know, commodity traders are quite, I mean, well known for minimizing their taxation obligations. So yeah, so many a times traders will request us that can you bill us through this legal entity or that legal entity. So yeah, we give them that kind of
Right.
flexibility, giving them an
Understood.
invoice on a monthly basis. Yes.
And as I said, is it like instant on, or is there some setup or training that is required?
So yes, in theory, it is instant on. So our system has a 40-step configuration process. Starting, the first step is to set up your global organizational hierarchy. Then step two is to set up all your employees. So like that, there's a 40-step process. So the blind system is available as soon as you sign the contract with us.
Yeah.
We create the login for the system admin in the company and then send them the details. Now it is up to the system admin to log in into the company and create other user profiles and give them access. But it is available from day one. And again, it depends on the kind of business analyst you have in your organization. But a person who fully understands the trading process in his or her organization can easily configure our system within 3 to 4 days with a little bit of our help to start working on it.
Right. And what sorts of businesses are currently using your solutions? Because it is multi-commodity, right?
Yeah. So it is multi-commodity in the sense that the contract piece, which is contract management and risk management and hedges associated with it, are configured for different types of commodities. So, for example, if you are entering an energy contract, then we have done some configuration to say that crude oil is traded on these exchanges and there's some master data available, and you can link your physical contract with those futures contract, etc., etc. So some bit of configuration is already there. But again, I mean, if you are trading some kind of an exotic commodity with some kind of an OTC hedge against it, you can configure that if you want. So
Right.
yeah, it is quite configurable. Till date, we haven't seen any major challenges in configuring new commodities on the system. Uh, so as of today, traders are using it for agri commodities, for metals, for energy, for some refined crude oil products, etc., etc. The only commodity which has not been configured, I think, is say power,
Okay.
and hopefully we'll get a customer on that also soon, and then we'll see what additional changes, if any, are required on our
Right.
platform.
Right. And of course, something else that users tend to worry about is uptime and upgrades. How does that work?
So yeah, that's the beauty of a multi-tenanted SaaS platform, that as soon as a change is done, that change is available to all customers. What we have done is that for some large customers, there is a special version available
Yeah.
to which the changes are pushed only if the customer agrees for it, because there might be some tests required on their special version application before those changes are pushed onto it. So I would say for 90% of our customers, the changes are available to them almost on a real-time fashion. But for 10% of our customers, we would have to send them a notice saying that we have a new feature available. Would you like to test it in your test environment? Give us some feedback, and if you're happy, then we'll push it to your environment.
Right. And in terms of guaranteed uptime or uptime, how do you manage that? What does uptime look like?
So, yeah, I mean, most of our customers are in the geographies of, say, West Africa, Europe, and India,
Yeah.
Middle East also. So for those geographies, we find it easy to make any changes and push those changes during the weekend. So just in case if there are any issues, we can fix those in the weekends, and by Monday morning, everyone should have the system. All our systems are hosted on Microsoft Azure. That is our preferred cloud as of now. And we already have an infrastructure, what is called as high availability, which means that there are two parallel servers.
Yeah.
And if the order and any kind of workload is balanced between the two servers. So even in the extreme scenario where one server is down, the other server is still available to take all the load. The customers might feel a slight latency when there's only one server available, but at least there is no complete downtime in that aspect.
Right.
So yeah, so I do not have the full kind of KPIs for our downtime yet, but the only KPI which I can recall from the top of my head is that it is, I think, over the last 5 years, we just had like two complaints from a customer where they said that they're trying to log into the system and the system is not available. So yes, it has happened twice in the last 5 years, but we were able to fix their complaint within 5 minutes time.
Very good. Very good. And the last question then, in having put together a multi-tenanted commodity management system in your case, what do you see as the pros and cons of a multi-tenanted software as a service CTRM solution?
So the I mean the pros are I think everyone understand. In terms of cons, I would say that not all features are possible to be pushed across the multi-tenant platform. So if you have a slightly complicated feature which has different types of variations in it depending on what type of customer is using it, then that is a kind of a feature which is difficult to
Right.
implement in general for everyone, because
Yeah.
the number of test cases you'll have to execute for a common release increases exponentially. So even if there is a if there's a workflow which has like 3 or 4 different variations, but when you have like 20 different customers and you have to apply those variations for each one of them, then you are talking about like 20 into 3, 60 kind of variations, and testing all of them and releasing it in the common environment can become challenging.
Understood.
Yeah.
I can imagine so as well, because it's a complex business. So
Mm.
does that mean then that the multi-tenanted environment for you is probably more for smaller, more vanilla, if there is such a thing, type commodity businesses, and if a larger, more complex business wanted to use your software, it might be better to do it single tenanted or some other way?
Yeah, there are pros and cons. I mean, there's a trade-off.
Yeah.
So let's say a large customer comes and they want a particular feature for us to be for them to be developed. Now, if that customer is operating on a standalone environment, then probably it will take us say X amount of time to implement this feature and test it and deploy it for them. But if that customer is not on a standalone environment, but our common multi-tenanted environment,
Yeah.
then it will take us maybe 3 to 4x time
Right.
to develop that and deploy it. So yes, it will take more time, but then the benefit is that if that feature is something which is required or at least desired or appreciated by other customers, then you're pushing it to all the other customers, and then you can send them some kind of a nice marketing email that without any further cost, we have enabled another feature for you, which
Right.
is, yeah. So
Always,
yeah,
always nice. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so those are some trade-offs. Yeah.
Saurabh, thank you very much. Much appreciate you joining us again. And thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saurabh. And finally, let's talk to an ETRM supplier, Aurora Systems, Bjarne Johansen, about deploying ETRM in software as a service configuration. So, Bjarne, thank you for joining CTRM Radio today. Perhaps we could start out by having you tell us a little bit about Aurora.
Yes, thank you for having me on. Aurora Systems is a company that was founded in 2018, so we are a fairly young company. Our flagship product is Aurora ETRM, Energy Risk Management and Trading System. And we also have consultancy service and a few other types of products.
Great. And what is your solution? Who is your solution targeting to start with?
We are targeting mostly mid-sized energy companies. That could be trading firms or energy retailers. It could also be utilities, power producers, or large consumers across Europe. So a couple of examples of large consumers, that would be, for example, a railroad company or aluminum smelting company.
Right.
And even if a company is large, it could be that energy trading is a relatively small activity within that company.
Got it.
And then we focus mainly on electricity, gas, and certificates.
Great. And how does it work from a user's point of view? Because it's software as a service. So is it like instant on with a credit card payment? Is there some kind of setup, installation, training? How does that work?
Yeah, getting started is pretty straightforward. Our solution is cloud-based and software as a service. It does need installing and implementing, but you can be up and running with a proof of concept within a couple of days. The standard interfaces are more or less plug and play. So the standard interfaces to market data, trade platforms, clearing banks, and so on. And reconciliation against standard sources is also very straightforward. But usually the customers we see, they already have some historical data that they want to import from an existing solution. That could be Excel or an in-house system or another ETRM system, perhaps a legacy solution. And then, of course, you have to import that data, and that could be historical trades, that could be price data or forward curves, master data, and so on. And depending on what kind of format and what kind of source they have this data in, that can take a bit of time to do. But usually we can do this within a couple of weeks. But of course, that depends on the level of complexity.
Right. Okay, and you have some firms using your software right now. What sort of businesses are they?
Yeah, so that answer is similar to who we are targeting. It's power producers, portfolio managers, and energy traders and retailing companies. And our customers are trading the Nordic power market, Germany, Italy, France, and European gas markets, as well as certificate markets.
And you have customers using the solution outside of Scandinavia too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So since it's software as a service, how do you actually guarantee uptime? How do you handle upgrades, that kind of thing? How do you support the solution?
Yeah, so it's a fully managed cloud solution. We have high availability and performance, and we have robust infrastructure and redundancies and monitoring to handle the uptime. And we have established protocols for what we do if there is downtime. And of course, as you say, in the unlikely event of an emergency, there are terms in the contracts guiding penalties for us as a vendor if we do have downtime. And with regards to upgrades, they are managed quite seamlessly. Usually, we schedule them in advance so that the customer knows when an upgrade is coming. And then we just upgrade their environment. It's actually as simple as clicking a button most of the time. And in a software as a service platform, customers get new features and improvements without having to do anything manually and without disruptions.
Right. Thinking about software as a service, particularly multi-tenanted, what are your views of the pros and cons of multi-tenanted, say, versus single-tenanted?
I think there are many benefits to multi-tenant. For example, fast initial deployment. Since there are no individual environments, you don't need to set up everything from scratch. It means lower setup and hosting costs as you share resources among tenants. And for the vendor, you avoid the scenario where some customers don't want to upgrade and get stuck on all the versions. And you also spend less actual time on upgrades, since you can upgrade several customers at the same time. But of course, there are also some cons to multi-tenant. You are less able to customize the environment compared to dedicated systems. And of course, your code base and databases are more complex if you want to develop a multi-tenanted solution. Ensuring data isolation between customers requires substantial investment. And it means that internal software testing is even more important because with a dedicated environment, you have to roll it out. With a multi-tenanted environment, you have to roll it out to many customers at the same time.
Right.
And then also there is backup and restoration, because it's very difficult to restore a single tenant to a previous version of data without affecting others, and that requires a more advanced backup and restoration functionality.
Right. Bjarne, thank you very much for being on CTRM Radio. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the opportunity. And
thank you, Bjarne. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's podcast and learned a little bit more about what delivering CTRM, ETRM, and commodity management software in the cloud as software as a service means, how it's done, some of the things that you'll need to take into consideration, and good hunting. This is Gary Vasey for Commodity Technology Advisory, and this has been another episode of CTRM Radio, an ad hoc podcast by Commodity Technology Advisory, hosted on CTRMcenter.com, the place for everything CTRM. Don't forget to stop by CTRM Center. Everything more or less is free. All you need to do is log on and download all of our reports, white papers, and other research. Absolutely no charge, except for the market sizing study. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Goodbye.